Center for Spiritual Living. Are we rolling?
Yes, we are.
Welcome, welcome, welcome to this thing called you. We always start everything with a spiritual mind treatment, so close your eyes if you want to. God doesn't care. Take a deep breath if you want to, and that is only to give your body a little oxygen. Deep breath in. Let it out. Please continue to breathe. And every time you exhale, let a little bit more go, whatever it may be. Any thoughts, any concerns, any tension, any stress, any worry, anything that brings you out of this now moment, just let it go. And what we do is know. We know that there is a presence and a power of love and life and light. It is all that there is. It is what each of us is created out of. It is the life that lives us, that love, the love that loves through us, the light that shines as us. It is our essence. It is our nature. It always has been and always will be. We are beings of light and love. We have come to planet Earth to make celestial whoopee. It is our very holy job. And so we do that. We do that by being happy, by being joy-filled, by living the life of our dreams, by loving with all that we've got, by going for what we want. We live the divine spiritual life, the God-ordained life that we were always meant to live. And we open and we accept it and we embrace it. We say yes to life, and life says yes to us. And knowing that that is our true purpose, we know that whatever we need to get out of this class, we get. That we take this experience and we incorporate it into our life. We have it subjectified within us, and it manifests as the expression and the experience of our life. And so, yay, we get to live the good life. So we move into gratitude, thank you, whatever, we're grateful. We're grateful for being us. We're grateful for this wonderful gift called life. We're grateful for all of the love and the light and the joy of spirit as us. And then we just turn it loose. We have done our work. Now it is life's job to simply bring that into form. As together we say, and so it is. Full house. So come on in. Does anyone have two seats next to them? We have two seats up here, two seats up front. For those of you who want to sit with someone. Great. So I'm so glad that all of you came. But before we get started, Troy, before you sit down, will you go back by that back wall for a moment? Are you ready, Kathy? And just go ahead and hit the lights off, all three of them. And where is Donna Smith? Stand up, Donna Smith. It's your birthday today. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Donna. Happy birthday to you. It is a tiny cake because Donna does not eat such things.
But it's full of love.
Happy birthday tomorrow to Dee. Who else has a birthday right around now?
Susan.
Yesterday, Susan Marlin, happy birthday. Yay. So welcome to this thing called you. To me, this is a process, not only a process class, but I'm glad so many of you came because I want to process us all into getting ready for the prosperity class. On July 18th, we will be walking on fire. Then we're going to have our annual summer prosperity class, and that is always very transformational for people. And what I've realized over the years, I think this will be the 22nd prosperity class we've given, is that we are our own worst enemy. And so here are all these people demonstrating tens of thousands of dollars. We had someone win the lottery in the prosperity class. We had a number of people were given houses and cars and all of that great stuff. And then there'll be other people in the class who are just spitting bullets going, why isn't this happening to me? It never happens to me. And so what I want us to do is I want us to move through that self-limiting consciousness. And the only way I know how to do that is to heal at a very deep level. So I love this book. I was talking to Kathy Mercinelli, Mercanelli, whatever, the person who heads up the Science of Mind Archives, which is a wonderful resource, has all these free books. You can download them if they're in public domain. If they're not, you can read them for free. All of these books. And I was trying to get whether or not this thing called You was in public domain, because I found one website that said it was, and it didn't make any sense because it wasn't published until 1948, and that's after the whole copyright law, and it's not long enough to be in public domain. So I was talking to her, talking about the book, and she said, this is my favorite Ernest Holmes book. She said, this book saved me at a very dark time in my life. And I've spoken with a number of people who say, this is my favorite book. And I think that as much as I like the original textbook, which lays out the argument, lesson 1, introduction, lesson 1, recapitulation, complete with pictures, as much as I love that intellectual logic, this thing called You touches our hearts, wraps its arms around us, and reminds us of our connection. So my intention in having this class is that we allow ourselves to open up and to heal at a very deep level to get ready for the prosperity class. Not only for Walking on Fire, which is amazing in and of itself, but to get ready for the prosperity class, because outer wealth is always a reflection of inner wealth or inner value. The outer value in our bank accounts, in our portfolios, in our assets, in our experience, always reflects the inner value that we hold. So if you're struggling at any level with financial issues in your life, it's all about self-worth and it's all about inner value. And that goes often to our inner child. It goes often to that part of us that feels disconnected, that doesn't feel loved, that doesn't feel safe. And what my intention is in this class is to have it be much more of a conversation and a discussion than Barbara's lecturing, although I don't know how much I'll be able to keep myself from lecturing, because that's what I do. And then we'll have the break, and then we'll come back and we'll turn the lights out, and we'll go through a deep relaxation process. And then I will read you things out of the book and probably ad-lib a little along the way. But what that does is that lets us really let go and open up and hear these things that we know are true, but sometimes they have trouble getting into the very depths of us. So that's my intention for the class. So if you have something else that you're looking for, I want you to know what you're in for. And if anybody during the meditations cries or anything like that, leave them alone. Don't give them a tissue. It's really not the end of the world if they wipe snot on their shirt. When you give someone a tissue, you're breaking their process. So leave them alone. Just leave them alone. Let this be a safe place for us. One of the things that I learned a long time ago was that in a spiritual mind treatment, and those of you who don't know what that is, Kate Grayson and John Waterhouse are going to be giving a class on spiritual mind treatment on Wednesdays, starting, I think, somewhere around May 25th. You guys all got a postcard that said Monday. It's not on Mondays, it's on Wednesdays. And the spiritual mind treatment has 5 steps. The first step is recognition of the presence of the divine. Identification that that is your true nature. affirmation or realization of that which you choose to experience, gratitude or thanksgiving, and release. And I learned a long time ago that if we could ever get the first 2 steps of treatment, we would not ever need to go farther. A lot of people think that Science of Mind is a get-rich-quick scheme, it's a how-to-manifest program, it's a super-duper sales program. You know, a lot of people see the out-picturing of what we do and think that that's what's going on. But remember, the out-picturing is only reflecting of what's going on inside of us, and so the real work is within. So if we can get that whatever spirit is all that there is, that every person, every event, every moment, every place is all spirit in form. It is the individualization or the manifestation of the divine. If we could get that, we would realize that we are living in a spiritual world. In quantum physics, they share with us that none of this is real, very much like the Eastern philosophies call all of this Maya. Quantum physics states that none of this is real and that everything that appears to be in physical form is simply vibrating energy. Sounds very much like Abraham. Or, gosh, it sounds a lot like Science of Mind. That everything is vibrating energy, and that it is our attention to that vibration that either keeps it in form or shifts it to something else. That's why we can reach out in thin air and we can grab money, we can reach out in thin air and we can grab a disaster. It's totally up to us. If we can get that everything in our world is not only a vibrating energy, but that it is vibrating love, that it's vibrating light, that it's not even a neutral, plastic, completely objective thing. It's not. It's very subjective. Your table has personality. Your table has personality that you put in it. If you love your table, you will experience love back from your table. It's amazing. How many of you love your car?
Oh.
Yeah. Yes. Does your car love you back? Yes. Yes, because you love your car. Your car is not neutral. The people in your life are not neutral. That's for sure. People will be one way to you and a completely different way to someone else. I've seen that with ex-husbands. It's amazing. If we can get that first step of treatment that says everything is spiritual, everything is spirit, whether I can see it, whether I can understand it or not, everything is spiritual. This is a spiritual room. This is a spiritual floor. This is a spiritual piece of property. We have a spiritual experience, a spiritual existence. And then move into the feeling, not just the idea, because people can rattle off the steps of treatment and they think they've got it and they have it this much instead of this much. And the second step is to move into the idea that that is what I am. And I find for most people that is the most difficult place to go. I am the presence of spirit. I am pure love. I am pure light. I am eternal. I have always been and I will always be. There are no accidents. There are no mistakes. I'm on my perfect and right path, doing exactly what I need to do. I am precious. I am whole. I am complete. That seems to be the hardest place for people to go. But for me, it seems to have the most healing results. I've often told people that if you can work on the first 2 steps of treatment, you'll go farther than any amount of therapy will ever take you. Because therapy is all about, why am I so screwed up? I know I'm screwed up. Everybody tells me I'm screwed up. I act like I'm screwed up. Why am I so screwed up? If I can only figure out why I'm so screwed up and what happened and who's to blame, then I'll be better. And it doesn't work that way. Sometimes we can move into, oh, that's what happened, and I can let it go, I can move on, I can release it. But I tell you, if you sit with, spirit is all that there is. And that is what I am, because I am made out of that. It is my nature, it is my essence, And if I have temporary amnesia as a human being right now, it does not change who and what I am. If you can start to get a glimpse of that, it will go into those deep, dark places, and it will bring in the light. It will comfort the parts of us that are afraid or holding on to an experience of being wounded. And I'm not challenging anybody's story. I marvel at how powerful we are in manifesting learning experiences in this life. I have been a Science of Mind minister for over 35 years. And I've heard a lot of stories that should make me, excuse me, generally biased towards humanity. And the thing that always surprises me is not how screwed up we are from what we've gone through, but how healthy we are. Look at us, we're all functioning. You know, I know some of the things you guys have gone through. We're all functioning. We all got here, we're all looking for a better life, we're willing to stand up and move forward and take charge of our lives and come to this class and let go of some things and open up the doors to our heart and let the love in and transform. And for me, that is the most important aspect of this teaching. You know, it reminds me of the butterfly, which starts off as a caterpillar, perfectly happy caterpillar, gorging himself through life, or herself through life. And then all of a sudden, everything stops and changes. And whether or not that caterpillar wants to, it starts to spin a cocoon. And from what science tells us about what happens in that cocoon, it's not a pretty picture. It's not like all of a sudden wings pop out. The caterpillar has to totally dissolve. It turns into the technical scientific term called goo. And in that goo, and this is also a scientific term, is what are called imaginal cells. They are imaginal cells. And they recreate the goo in physical form as the caterpillar. And another interesting thing about caterpillars or moths or anything like that is that they have to go through their own emergent process. You cannot help them. If you help them, you will cripple them. Because it's the squeezing of the body as they come out of their cocoon that puts the fluid in the wings and allows the wings to work. People have tried to help the little caterpillars and moths out of the cocoon, and they get a fat, swollen body and little distorted wings because they didn't go through their struggle. So there's nothing wrong with that struggle. There's always value in everything. And I'm saying this not to set you guys up, but because I want you to know that there's a reason that some parts of you have been locked away. There's a reason that we just don't go, God is, I am, and so it is. Everything's wonderful. Today's the best day ever. Today's a happy day. Yay! There's a reason we don't do that. And so as you start having some of that energy of these processes going into you, understand that you may feel a little gooey. And it's a good thing. It's a good thing. There's a psychological explanation of when you're changing from one belief system or mindset system or way of identifying yourself to another, and that is when you've let go of something and you still don't have the new you. Sometimes people describe it as feeling like the bottom has dropped out. They don't know who they are anymore. They don't know what's going on. I liken it to a trapeze artist in the circus, where they're swinging back and forth. And there comes a time when they have to let go of the trapeze that they're on and just trust that the new one's going to be there in time. And then they go, and everybody's, yay, what a great job you did. And they go, I was terrified. Because you've got to let go and fly through the air, not having a hold of that new you yet. So my guess is that there are going to be those kinds of experiences in this class because it is a process kind of class. So you're not going to be able to just sit back and be done. You're going to be doing the doing. In that, you're going to be doing the doing. In that you're going to open up and allow experiences to come in. One of the things that I think it's important to look at in going into, shifting our self-worth and allowing ourselves to really be touched by divine love and divine light is this idea of, do we deserve that? Do we really deserve to be wide open and happy and joyous? Do we really deserve to be the powerful being of light that we are? I love Marianne Williamson's quote where she says it's not our smallness that we're afraid of, it's our greatness.
Yeah.
And yes, Nelson Mandela did take that from A Return to Love, Marianne Williamson's book, to use in his speech. So it's not our smallness that we're afraid of. For many people, it's our greatness. So do we really deserve to be great? Do we deserve to be happy? Do we deserve to be rich? Do we deserve to be held in the arms of love? Do we deserve to live this amazing life? And sometimes some of that is hooked into some old ideas that people may have about whatever God is. Is God up in heaven watching me? Watching you, watching you. Is there this outside power that is going to keep us from experiencing our wholeness and our good? Is there a heaven? Is there a hell? Are we really gambling eternity here? I know we're having a lot of fun at Center for Spiritual Living, but are we gambling eternity here, and are we going to really be sorry? Is that stuff going on? Do we have it tucked away inside? That there is something inherently wrong with us, that we have some kind of original sin, that just because we are us, that there is a reason that we don't get to have, be, do what we want to have and be and do. And it's really important to look at that because sometimes it hides in the corners. You can't do that. I remember when I started in ministry, I was a woman, I was 28 years old, cocky. Someone use other words. But I was told I couldn't do this. You can't do this. First of all, you're too young. Second of all, you're a woman. You can't do this. It's just in the last few years that people have stopped coming into the offices and stopped asking where the minister was, where the pastor was, because they would look at me and,
You're just the secretary, right?
So what have you got going on? Is there something that is just intrinsic to your nature that's wrong with you? And if so, it's good to know, to be able to bring it up and to let it just be loved. The intention is to love the hell out of you. Whatever may be left, to love the hell out of you. And sometimes you think, well, I dealt with that long ago. Well, if you're still fighting it, you've still got it. I forgave that person, but I'll never forget. Well, you haven't really let it go then, have you? So everybody seems to have some stuff. And what we want to do is we want to allow ourselves to move into that state of absolute perfect love. What is that Bible quote? Perfect love casteth out all fear. Course in Miracles. Choices are love or fear, that's it. So as we move into that idea, then the more we can open up to this, that I'm perfect just the way I am. I am perfect just the way I am. I am whole and complete. Then we can allow some of that old stuff that may still be weighting us down to go. And I tell you, when you let a little bit of that go, it feels so good. And I know people here have done a lot of work already. So if you are completely clean and clear, just bliss out, it's fine. And just allow that energy to move through us. Because my intention for this center is that every person who calls this center home lives a life of total prosperity, vibrant health, love, joy, and success of all kinds. I don't understand how we have this amazing teaching and don't demonstrate it every moment in every way. I was talking to Ken Williams, the head of the Science of Mind Foundation, and it is his intention that every center in the movement have millions of dollars in some kind of an endowment or a foundation. And I thought, boy, that is so great, because when I listen to my peers, they're still complaining about the rent in the strip center and how nobody will come. I want our center to demonstrate prosperity, love, health, and joy. And you know you've read enough Louise Hay to know that every physical experience in your body is an outer manifestation of some unhealed mindset. That's why her first affirmation when she was working with all those people with HIV back in the, whatever, 70s it was, 80s, was, I love and accept myself just the way I am. Because people had such wounds that there was something wrong with them and they were being punished for that. I love and accept myself just the way I am. And people would get healed. People would have healings. Yes, there have been many documented HIV positive people who have turned HIV negative. Documented stuff. So any physical experience is an outer manifestation of a mental state. This is just pure science of mind. How much money you have and what you do with that money, because you can have millions of dollars and have a horrible life, and you can have, you know, an extra nickel at the end of the month and just be feeling on top of the world, everything's going great. What you do with that money, how that money nourishes you and enriches you, how you live your life, is all a reflection of what's going on inside of you. You okay?
Thanks, yeah.
Okay.
I just have a ear.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I love you, Jane. You're one of my prized students. So what we want to do is we want to begin to just be with this idea that we are perfect, whole, and complete. If you take John's treatment class, he's going to tell you not to use treatment, not to use perfect. That's okay. John has his view of the weekend. I have mine. So to be able to sit with the idea that there's a perfection within us, that there's a wholeness within us, that we're not bad, we're not wrong, we've never done anything that we need to be punished for, we do not have to hide from life, we are safe, that we are loved and supported by the universe. To be able to hang out in that energy is not only healing, but it's transformative. And so I want us to move there. And my experience of this book is that it just is warm fuzzy. It just wraps itself around me and allows me to just relax into it. I have notes on my pad, on my tablet. One of the things that he says in this is that unity doesn't mean conformity. And one of the phrases that we use is, oneness is not sameness. We're not supposed to be the same. And we don't need to look at ourselves as being wrong because we're different. I'm glad we're different. I don't want us to all be little robots, acting the same, thinking the same, living the same life. So if you look back on your maybe childhood or family of origin, if you didn't fit with them, that's not a bad thing. If you were not the same as the other kids in your classroom, that's not a bad thing. Because we're different. We're very different. I think that we're the light bearers of the world, that we have come to planet Earth to uplift the consciousness and to move into a greater awareness of our oneness, of love and peace and joy. And to do that, we have to be different from the crowd. Otherwise, we are just the crowd. And what is the crowd? The crowd is race consciousness. It's race belief, mostly fueled by fear. Most people on the planet are still living at the level of something outside of me can hurt me, can take it away, can give it to me. and things can hurt me, and there's not enough. Whatever that may be, whether it's someone saying there's not enough food to feed my children, or there's not enough time in the day for me to get everything done that I need to get done, or there's not enough promotions, or whatever. Most people are fueled by a consciousness of fear. And so we come into planet Earth and we go, no, we probably played with fear so that we could know what we were saying no to. And God knows I did. We could say, no, I don't choose to live my life in fear. I'm going to live a greater experience. That's why when people come to me looking to demonstrate money, and my first question is, are you tithing? And they go, oh, no. So, well, how in the world can I help you get over your fear if you won't let go of your fear? How can I help you do that? So what you're doing is you're creating fear. So what we do is we look at that fear and we say, I'm not going to be afraid anymore. I've looked at fear in my life and said, I would rather die than live a life based in this fear. I would rather die than be afraid for the rest of my life. And sometimes that's what it took for me to get up and go to where I needed to go, which was usually far, far away from wherever I was. So we're dealing with this idea that we are bringing a light into the consciousness of the world, and the consciousness of the world, for the most part, is filled with fear. So we're going to bring that up. We're going to spread love. We're going to spread joy. We're going to spread happiness. People say, Barbara, you're so simplistic. All you want to do is be happy. And you know, you're right. All I want to do is be happy. Why do I want health? So that I can be happy. Why do I want money? So that I can be happy. Why do I want a wonderful relationship? So that I can be happy. Why do I want everything to work out in my life so that I can be happy? I don't really care about those things. Being lost on a deserted island with $1 million doesn't help. It doesn't help. I want to be happy. It's simple. What do I need to do to be happy? What I need to do is to let go of unhappiness. And you know, we are our worst enemies of creating that because it seems so logical from the experiences around us. How can we be unhappy? Oh, let me see. I will see this, which is a neutral event. I will label it a threat. And then I will react to that threat. And then I will bring everybody in the world that I can into alignment with that threat. No. It's a neutral event. It hasn't touched me. It hasn't taken anything away from me. It's just a neutral event. And if I look at that neutral event as a neutral event and say, I think I'm just going to go ahead and be happy and just not even care about that. I'm going to just be on my merry way and let it be okay. Then what I get is a world where everything is okay. But I could just as easily flip it around and have a problem with that person, that event, that letter, that news story, that political experience. I could just flip it around really easily because we're good at that. And yet, if we don't flip it around, if we take the high road, which is the happy road, the road of light and love, then we have an opportunity to be who we have come here to be, which I believe are the light bearers of consciousness on planet Earth. And for us to do that, we have to finish healing. We have to be willing to accept all of the good that life has for us, all of the love. We cannot hold on to our fear and expect to manifest the amazing spirit life that we are here to live. We can't do our work if we're holding on to our fear. So part of my intention for this class, and I just really want you to know what you're in for. Part of my intention for this class is that we open wide up and we allow ourselves to be touched. Anytime anybody's going into surgery, I said, oh, don't worry about it. The hand of God and the hand of the doctor is one hand. And that doctor is going to be with that hand of God and go right in your body and touch it. You have the hand of God reaching inside of your body, touching it and reminding it and bringing it back to its state of health and wholeness. And by then they're in pre-op, they're going, yeah, that's great. Especially a little woozy drug going in. So what we want to do is we want to open wide up, and we want to allow that hand of God to touch us at a very deep level. And if there's anything that you're still holding on to, anything that says you're not good enough, you shouldn't, you mustn't, it will never happen, this is the time to let it go. This is the time to let it go so that we can move on in our lives and do what is ours to do. Okay?
Okay.
Has anybody read the book so far? We're going to do this 2 chapters a week. Just so you know, there are 16 chapters, and I believe there are 8 classes. Where's Margot?
She's right here.
Do you know how many classes are in this?
7.
Okay, we'll pick up a couple of chapters along the way. And when you find something that really touches you, I want you to stop. The first 2 chapters are 15 pages. It's not a lot of reading. It's not about reading. It's about finding your nuggets. And so if you find something, stop and just breathe it in. And keep the book close to where you do your spiritual practice. If you do it in the morning, which is what I do, keep the book close so that you can go over that little nugget. You don't have to leave it just because we're going on to other chapters. If you find one nugget in chapter 1 and you keep it all the way through the class, that's okay. And if you skip ahead and find a nugget, it's okay to use it early. It's okay. That's what I love about this teaching. Everything's okay. Everything's fine. Everything's great. We can all relax. Everything is okay. So, he says, create or perish. Be constructive or become frustrated. And what that means to me is that there's got to be a flow. There's got to be an expansion. We are living in an expanding universe with an expanding energy and consciousness. That's what an infinite means. There cannot be an edge to an infinite. If there is, then you have the infinite and something else, and you no longer have an infinite. So if there is no edge, strangely as logic is, the edge always has to be expanding. So we are created out of an energy of expansion. So when we go against our nature and we want to hold on and hunker down and close down, then we have problems. We have problems with our physical body. What happens if your blood doesn't flow? What happens if your intestines don't move? What happens if your lungs stop? You know, hunkering down and stopping is not a good idea. When we stop expanding, then everything in our life is affected. So what we want to do is we want to consciously expand. We want to expand into more love, more happiness, more light, more joy. That, honest to God, is our holy work. Anyone who is truly a spiritual being is always in their joy. The Dalai Lama is always laughing. Sai Baba was always laughing. You know, anyone who has got that connection going on is in their joy. So that's our job, is to be joyous, to open up. And that, for me, brings up stuff. Well, do you really have a right to be joyous all the time? Don't you have to put your 8 hours in? You know, you need to just settle down there, little missy. And no, God, no, don't settle down. For that matter, don't settle. Don't ever settle. Always go for it, whatever it is. Always expand. Always open up. I love the way he says all through this book, we belong to the universe. One of my favorite ideas is we know who we are. We also know whose we are. We are Spirit's own. That is our nature. We belong to the universe. It's what we're made out of. We're a point of light. You know, we're not separate from. We're not just a little package picked up off the store shelf. The universe came by and said, okay, I'm going to get you. You belong to me. No. We're the essence and the nature of the divine itself. One of the things that I love is that this idea that we're not a part of Spirit, although if that's your first step, that's okay. if you have to go in increments, since a lot of people have real difficulty saying, I am God. And then you go a little into quantum physics and say, I am all of God. Some people today just walk out of it. Nuts. But this idea that we're not a part of spirit because there's nothing lacking in us, that somehow we're the wave in the ocean. We're a part of the ocean, and yet we know ourselves as a wave at the same time. And you can't cut the wave out of the ocean. You don't get anything. It's impossible. We're the beam of light from the bigger light. It's the same thing. It may look like we're all separate, but truly that's just our pinpoint in physical form in this time-space continuum. And so when we go into ourselves and we feel into this, we can feel this connection that is bigger than our physical body, bigger than anything we can even imagine, but somehow we know it to be so. I love the idea when he says, the reason that we want things is because life in its expansion is moving through us, and it is right and good that we would desire more. Wow, isn't that better than you're just a selfish little brat? No. God needs this by means of me. So what we want to do is we want to get on our own side. There's also that idea that in order for us to think it, it already exists. So it's already been given, which goes back to the biblical statement, even before you ask, it's given. So as we begin to think, who am I if I'm not held back, if I'm not wrong, if I'm not bad, if I shouldn't, if I couldn't, if I mustn't, then who am I? As we move into that experience, then that experience is a greater experience because it's not pulling back, it's moving out. And if you're frustrated, you're pulling back instead of moving out. And what you want to do is you want to move out. And so this idea of opening up has a movement also with it. A movement of more love. Oh my God, I've never felt so happy. I've never felt so much love. I've never felt so much joy. Everything in my life is working. My sister does that. She has the magic touch. She does. Everything in her life just falls into place. And so we want to move into that idea that says, well, of course I deserve that. Of course I can have that. Of course the entire universe is supporting me because the entire universe loves me. And so that love and support comes as you think about someone and they call you. You pull up to a parking lot and the space opens. You're looking for something and there it is. You want something and it shows up even when it appeared to be impossible. So we move into that idea that says, yes, I can have that. There's nothing to hold me back. And that is my job to demonstrate the best life ever, to lift the consciousness of people all over the world up that haven't found that yet. Yes, Michaela?
One of my teachers, meaning my classroom teacher, she has a poster with the Dalai Lama.
Sweet.
And that poster says, if you look, this is what I'm thinking that it says, but I'm not actually sure. She says, she says it throughout the day. Repeat what it says. If you be quiet or something, this is the basic gist of it. If you be quiet, you'll learn something new.
Wonderful. Thank you.
You won't.
Oh, well, she's using the Dalai Lama to manipulate you. My minister said. Emerson said, every man is a doorway through which the infinite passes into the finite, through which God becomes man, through which the universal becomes individualized. Every man is a doorway through which the infinite passes into the finite, through which God becomes man, through which the universal becomes individual. Now, because the infinite passed into the finite didn't stop the infinite from being infinite. The infinite is still the infinite as the finite. Because God becomes man, woman, God doesn't stop being God. God is God as us. And because the universal becomes individual, the universal does not stop being universal. It's universal as the individual. Do you understand that? Because some people think, well, how can you be God? How can you limit God by being you? We don't limit God. God is still God as us. For that matter, we are unlimited. We don't knock God down a notch. We are lifted up, if you want to look at it that way. So the light beam from the sun doesn't limit the sun. It is the sun as the beam. And what I want you to do is to start opening up to this idea that says, I am the individual manifestation of the infinite. The infinite is the infinite as me now. I cannot limit the infinite. I cannot stop the universal. I can't stop God from being God as me. Whether I understand it, whether I think it's reasonable, I cannot stop it. It is who I am. It is my nature. It will always be such. And I think that's why when people pass over, if you've ever had that experience, there is often such joy. No, I don't think it's people just getting away from their problems. There's such joy that they move into. They're moving back into, I believe, our true nature. I think that we put this cloak on a physical form, and then we take it off. And then we put it on, and then we take it off. But our true nature is never contained in the cloak. That's the game. Does that make sense? Yeah. Wonderful. And Robert Browning said, man can desecrate, but never lose the divine spark. That's good, because I've done some serious desecration. You know you all have. But we can't lose it. We can't stop being who we are. All we can do is accept it. All we can do is open up to it. We can hide. Have you hung out with children at all? There is a stage that kids go through. Blair's going, yeah. There's a stage that little kids go through when they don't realize the me and you kind of thing. And they go, you can't see me. And that's what we do. We close our eyes to our spiritual nature and pretend that somehow we've changed our nature. And we haven't. We are still right here, shining bright, whether we choose to see it or whether we insist on believing that there is no light within us or anyone else and the world is a dark place. So our job is to open up to the light. And I want you to know that no matter how much light you have opened up to, there is more light to experience. There is more love. There is more joy. There is more to open up to because there is an infinite flow through us. We don't have to get it. We don't have to do anything. We don't have to come to classes. We don't have to read books. We don't have to go to workshops. We don't have to jump off bridges and bungee cord up and down. We don't have to do that. We can do those things if we want, but that doesn't give us our nature. We came in with this nature. We are a spiritual being already. You cannot make yourself more spiritual. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Good, because sometimes people come here and they go, oh, I want to be spiritual. This is as spiritual as you're ever going to get. It's your job to open up to that which you already are. And the more you open up, the more spiritual you'll experience, but you won't get any more. And the flip side of that, which I've always been comforted from, is you can't lose it. Doesn't matter what happens, doesn't matter what story you've told yourself, you can never lose this. You can dim it out a little bit, but you can never put it out. You can never lose it. It is who you are, so we might as well let go of anything that has held us back or held us down and let ourselves just go wide open. Are you interested in doing that?
Yes.
Yes. Good. Yes, Jane?
When you say you can never lose it, what do you mean by it?
Your spiritual nature.
Okay.
Any other questions? Great. I'm going to structure the class a little bit differently because when we come back from break, I'm going to put you under. And it may take you a little bit of time to come out. I won't let anyone go who's not fully grounded and back in this plane. And if you and I'll take you through some processes to make sure that you're not. But because of that, we're going to go ahead and do our prosperity acceptance in the middle of the class instead of having you trying to figure out how to write out a check or do something like that in an hour from now. So take out what you're going to give.
Oh, right.
Take your time, go get envelopes. I know some of you thought you'd be able to do it during the break.
Yeah.
And again, I want to thank all of you who give generously to this center.
What the?
You're amazing.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Absolutely amazing. Because the work that we do here is so important. The lives that we change, the hearts that we open, the pasts that we rewrite, it's so important. And I know that a lot of you really are committed to supporting this center, so thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You ready? Mm-hmm. So what I know, you want time? What I know is that God is the source of all supply and that we are immersed in an infinite, abundant, prosperous world, universe, and life. I know that the universe delights to give to us. And so I see money pouring into our lives, filling us filled full to overflowing. And as that comes in, we give it out. And as we give it out, it comes back in again. And we stand firm in the faith and trust that we are in an ever-growing flow of life giving to life, giving to life. And so I know in that energy, what we give tonight is filled with love. It's filled with joy. And I know that this center is on solid ground, that it does amazing work, and that our planet is lifted through our work. I know that each one of us comes together this night to make this center for spiritual living all that it was ever meant to be. It's a place of peace in the storms of life. It's a tower of strength when we need something to lean on. It's a beacon of light when things look dark. And it's a fountain of wisdom that keeps reminding us and lifting us to remember who we are. That touches the lives of all of us who call it home. And so it is.
No, I was just going to tell her.
Hold the energy.
I'm destined to see her soon.
Hold the energy in the room. We are creating miracles. We are manifesting our divine birthright. A life of light, a life of love, a life of health, a life of wholeness, a life of prosperity, a life that is our true life to live. So we open up to the spiritual reality of who we are of whose we are. We are God's own. We are Spirit's own. We are meant to live the good life. We are meant to be blessed. We are meant to be loved. And we say yes right here and right now. And so I open to magic and miracles, to support and love of every kind. I open up to joy. I open up to happiness. I open up to money. And I know that everything in these baskets is blessed. Because whenever we give anything, that which we are goes with our gift. There's only one. So if we give a smile, we go with the smile. If we give a hug, we go with the hug. If we give money, we go with that money. Whatever we give, we go with it. And who are we but Spirit in form as us? Wow, what a light. I see that light pouring forth from each one of us, filling up this room from the floor to the ceiling and all between the walls. This air is rich and blessed with God as us. And as Spirit moves in our lives, it touches us, it blesses us, and it heals us. It awakens us to who we are and who we are meant to be. And then it goes out around this world to touch, to bless, to heal, and awaken every being on this planet. We are beings of light and beings of love, and we hold our light high. Always here and always now, touching every one of us here tonight, everyone who has ever been here, and everyone yet to come. And so it is. Thank you. We're going to have a break. Get yourself comfortable.